we're here today with Dr. Zali Yager. So Zali is an Associate Professor in Health and Physical Education in the Institute for Health and Sport at Victoria University. And she's also Chief Investigator on the Body Confident Mums Project. She has over 15 years experience in the body image research field, focusing on the development of programs to make children, adolescents and boys feel better about the way that they look. But over the past 5 or so years, pretty much since having her own kids, Zali's become passionate about developing evidence-based resources to help mums of preschool-age children to improve their own body image so that they can then role model this for their children. So Zali, your kids are 7, 5 and 5 now, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've recently moved to the New South Wales mid-north coast, which is a beautiful part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you yourself sort of struggle with the juggle, which I think is a great way to look at it, juggling life and prioritising your own health and fitness along the way. So we can definitely relate to that. Absolutely. As you can see at the moment, I'm juggling this little one. But Zali, did you want to tell us a little bit about what really led you to create Body Confident Mums and, excuse us, where that's all come from?
Yep, sure. So after having, I've been doing all of this research, trying to develop things for children, trying to develop things for adolescents, but after having my first child, who was a very intense boy, 7 years ago, I suddenly realised that there's actually no resources for adult women in general, and then there's definitely nothing that's specific to mums to really just help us to get through that massive shift in identity, but also the changes to our body that happen through the pregnancy, birth and breastfeeding processes. And so I got together with some other body image researchers. So Ivanka Pritchard and Laura Hart are also on the project. And we just started to try and fill in some of the gaps in the evidence base in the area, because we've just got so much that we need to learn about how mums do feel about their body.
Yep.
And then also to develop some resources in the area. And kind of at the same time, I was really aware that, the earlier that we can intervene for children, the better. And there's sort of, school, it starts to look like, oh, we need to do something before they get to school. And then it's like, well, we need to do stuff in preschools. And then you can't go much earlier than that in terms of coming at it from a systematic approach. In the school sort of world. So we decided that we sort of have to work with the parents, and working with the parents in a parenting kind of sense is okay, but I really think that if we work with the parents, and particularly the mums, on their own personal body image, then that's just so helpful, because rather than just doing and saying the things that you meant to say, you can actually live it and actually roll those things. Yeah.
That's so true. We are the example, aren't we? So a lot of people, it's like, do as I say, not as I do. I remember that when I was a kid. But why do I have to do that? Just because I say so. Never role modeled. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've just got all these programs of what your mother was like with her own body issues, and her dieting or words she might have said to herself. And I do find similar issues with Savannah, and I'm doing my best to just little things. She'll say, I want to wear makeup because I want to look beautiful, so I want to wear makeup too. And I said, it's not to make you look more beautiful. You're beautiful anyway. It's just a bit of fun. It's like craft, Yeah. Rather than wear this to make you pretty. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so hard because they test us every moment of every day. Like, the conversation will come up at the time when you are least prepared for it, and you're so tired and you're trying to park, reverse park or something, and then they'll mention that they think that they're fat, and it's like, wait, I wasn't ready for this conversation. I was going to do prepare for that next week. So yeah, they do test us, and that's why it's important to, if you can feel it from within, then it just makes it so much easier. And they're watching all the time. I was going to play and stuff, and the mums were complaining about their bodies, and then the kids get older, and once they're 3, they can take on all of those messages that we're sharing with the adults in the room. We don't realise that we're sharing them.
So true. Yeah.
And what I was about to say before is, yes, like I think we do need to be really conscious of the words that we use around our kids and the way that we talk about our bodies and about their bodies. But I think there's using the right words and there's language as one aspect, but really embodying it takes it to that next level. There's no denying when somebody fully embraces their body and appreciates it versus somebody that just talks about your body in the right way. There's, it's that next level that I think we all want to take on board to be able to pass on to our kids. Because, I mean, if you look at your kids, you look at them and you just think they are beautiful and they are absolutely perfect, and you hate to think that they may one day dislike their bodies the way that we did.
Or self-loathe, totally.
Yeah.
So you want them to feel confident, love themselves no matter what, or at least, it's not like a cop-out, like just do what you want, but teaching them how to embody all of the, like teaching them to exercise and to do the mindfulness stuff and to eat well and like have moderation. It's okay to have junk food, but not all the time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I tried to not give Savannah sugar for 2 years, and now she's a bloody sugar fiend. So I was like, was there any point in that? I don't know.
Yeah.
It just caused heartache. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's finding that balance, I think,
But just instilling, like, it's okay to have, because I also do, but it's like learning the balance, and then how to speak, how to use that correct language. So is that what you've like studied, Zali? Like what words are best to use and that sort of thing? Or
I mean, in terms of a research project, that one would be tricky to do. So we haven't actually like tested different approaches to using different words or anything, but we do have some general guidelines. And my colleague Laura Hart has done a study where you kind of ask a lot of experts what they would recommend and then distill that down. And so it is really talking about, the foods that nourish your body, and talking about the positive effects of the healthy foods, not just saying that it's healthy. Like I've noticed a lot in the language, particularly that what's coming home from preschool and sort of early learning settings, is it's just like, well, this is healthy and that's not healthy. And it's like, yeah, but why? And like, what's the next step that's going to help them to contextualize that information? Also, we would generally recommend talking about sometimes foods or treat foods instead of using the word junk and attaching those sorts of negative moral labels to food.
Yeah.
And I still make the mistake myself, and because we are programmed in certain ways. And I think there's a very interesting just side note, women who are in their 30s now sort of grew up with mothers who were in a very different space, and the general discourse around dieting at the time was very different. And if you can just imagine back to the 80s and the sorts of magazine covers that would have been around, and the sorts of, the cabbage soup diet was a thing, so, it was very different for our mothers. And so maybe some of that has been into our
constant diets and stuff, and like, the bloody leotards and aerobics and all that.
Yeah.
So we do need to remember, like, that's sort of how that was what was framing their experience, and that's what they passed on to us. And then we can sort of take new things from our experience in order to pass those things down.
Yes. And I can say from my own personal experience, definitely studying nutrition put health and a healthy body sort of into a new context for me. So actually learning about it, I was able to see foods, as you're saying, for more than just good and bad. It's like, what it can do for them. And I'm finding that I will talk about that in front of my kids, even if right now it's going over their heads. I will say, this has got this in it, and that's, great for your eyesight, or this has got fibre in it. It will keep your tummy happy. Things like that. Whereas, I've got that privilege of the fact that I've spent this time studying nutrition. But I'm thinking, I'm going to put that to use with my kids. So, yeah, sometimes they kind of look at me blankly like, I don't care, I just want some ice cream. I'm like, how is whatever else. Yeah, hopefully over time that sort of distills through to them.
But programs, I totally will. But that's what I love about our program, what you created, Kim, because I love how you explain what everything is for and why we need it, rather than this is what you eat to nourish your body, like when you're pregnant. But why? What does it do? And what do you need in every phase? You know, like I learned so much. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting, and I guess if we treat our kids that way, because they have the most curious minds of us all, they always want to know why. I mean, why is the most asked question, isn't it? But why? But why? So it's a great sort of great tool to teach from. So can I then ask, Zali, with all this research that you are looking to do when supporting mums in this way, like, do you have a specific mission, sort of something you're really hoping to achieve through Body Confident Mums?
Yeah, so with Body Confident Mums, we really set out from the beginning to change the conversation around postpartum bodies, and you know, side note, that's specific, like to stop talking about going back to what we were and start talking about like how we just transition through to a new body and a new phase of our life.
Yeah.
But also to do that at the individual level, but also at the organisational and the cultural level, to try and drive some of that change, you know, in terms of how the media really talks about bodies and how we talk about bodies in our workplaces and in our, you know, in some of those broader structures, as well as stuff for women at a personal level.
Yeah, wonderful. And I guess that really ties into what we're trying to achieve as well with our program, and taking that pressure off, that getting your pre-baby body back. It's more accepting where you are, and I think I'm being called to keep using this term, like honour the season you're in, and it's okay, well, I'm in my postpartum period. I've got a 4-month-old. My focus is on her, keeping her healthy, nourishing her, and doing things that feel good, like walks and our gentle exercises, but that's the season I'm in. So accepting that, rather than like I did with after my other daughter in preparation for a wedding, you know, getting straight back into heavy weights and all those silly things. So, you know, learning the hard way. We've all been there, but I think it's time that we do reframe that and change the way women feel about their postpartum bodies, and accepting, I think, what is common. So some common changes that we see as a result of childbirth and carrying children, but then also knowing, you know, what's common versus what's normal, if you know what I mean. So things like urinary incontinence are popping into mind. Like, yes, that's really common, but we need to accept that it doesn't have to be our reality. You know, we can work on these things, and just having those conversations about the fact that
help you recover without that being you. That's just because even boot camps I've done with women that are like in their 50s and they have this issue still, which is common because they weren't given any guidance when they had kids, but now they're like, oh, that just happens. And I'm like, that's just not okay. Like, it's not just okay. Like, we need to work out how we can help strengthen that, or you know, don't jump or don't run. It's okay not to do those things. Let's do these other things that can help support you in that issue, or, you know, that area. So confident, like, no one wants to go around feeling like they're going to pee their pants. Do you know what I mean? At any age.
No, it's true.
So it's that, and that all ties in with the postpartum body and rushing in, and, you know, it creates more of those issues when we rush. But other things came to mind, is like when I was doing mum and bub classes, you know, and this is something I didn't even know, Kim, I think you had explained it to me, where, because the common thing going around is when you breastfeed, it helps you lose weight quickly. And often it doesn't help a lot of mums at all. Actually, some of them were more weight was going on, you know, because you had told me, Kim, it was like hormonal.
Yeah,
and but then so
your body's way
around going with me, like, why am I putting on more weight? I'm doing all this work, and they're busting their asses, you know, rather than just on going slow, learning this as part of it. And as long as you're doing something to feel good, that's all that matters. Like, you know.
Sometimes I think that common narratives can be a bit detrimental, because people will think, well, I'm actually, like I said, putting on a bit of weight, which, you know, is very normal physiologically. Your body is ensuring that you have what you need to support your bub growing. But you can start to feel like, okay, well, what's wrong with me then? Why am I going the other way? And that can lead people to start to excessively cut things out of their diet or not eat enough or start to overtrain because everybody said I should be losing weight. So I think, reframing some of those stories and letting women understand that there is so much variation in what.
Yeah, how they can be confident with what's going on for them, not what's happening for everyone else. Like,
true.
How can we help support their postpartum journey?
Yeah.
So that they best and feel confident. And like, I think there is a lot of messages coming out now about, women being all different shapes and sizes and helping them to have more confidence and embody who they are, which is amazing, because I don't remember that when I was a teenager. That wasn't a message. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely not.
To be happy with who you are no matter what.
Yeah, and I think that's coming from, organisations like yourselves who are purposefully taking a more holistic approach. But it's also coming from the fact that we can now control the social media landscape a little bit more. Like, we can actually determine what we see and what we don't see in general, and the sorts of messages that we want to be exposed to. Whereas, when it was magazines and books and TV, we couldn't really change that. And so I don't actually think that we embrace that enough, because people are still looking at social media images that make them feel really unhappy about their body, and they're looking at these before and after photos thinking that if they make themselves feel more dissatisfied, it might help to motivate them, and that's just not the way that psychology works.
No.
And so I think all of the evidence is showing that if you see a nice, beautiful, diverse range of women in terms of shapes and sizes and colours and abilities and all of these sorts of things, it can really help us to accept our own bodies. And we have the power to control that. We can follow more body positive stuff on social media. So that's something that I really encourage everyone to do, because it's such a simple change to make yourself feel better and feel good.
Like that. I feel like I need to do a post just telling people to do that. Like,
Yeah.
Well, I did one saying, if you don't like what I do, say, share, unfollow me. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, the line.
And
but now I'm going to do one. Follow all these people and feel good. Follow some happy stuff.
That's it. And as you're saying,
more of that.
Sorry.
What's that, babe?
Sorry, I've got a bit of a lag, and then I start to talk and you're still talking.
Okay.
I was going to say, Zali, so I guess, are you saying that if you are on social media and you're seeing something that isn't making you feel good about yourself, you're getting to that comparison, unfollow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get off your feet.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
Or take a break if you can't commit to the unfollow. Just pause it for a little while or mute it for a little while. But
see the stuff it's hides this for a while. Yeah.
That's
my colleague's done a lot of research around Fitspiration, and because that was a big, maybe a year or so ago, it was a really big thing, and so she evaluated how it makes women feel, and it generally just made women feel more depressed, feel worse about their bodies, and it didn't actually motivate them to exercise, but they thought that it would. So it didn't actually achieve the things that that people who create it kind of set out for it, thinking that they're helping people generally.
Yeah.
But also expose themselves to it thinking that it's going to help them, but it's generally not helping.
That's true, because I used to be more like, when I was doing more PT, I was sharing the befores and after. It was more about the aesthetics, because the PT world is quite ego-based.
Yeah.
And it's about looks. That's how you learn. And then also sharing posts like, just bloody get on with it kind of thing. But it isn't. It makes you feel like shit, because you're like, well, I can't right now, so that means I'm a failure. Do you know what I mean?
But that just shows that you've evolved as well, Jade, because you don't do that. Since we've been working in this space, I think we've reframed and now we're talking from the heart with what we actually really want to be saying, as opposed to what we feel being in the health and wellness space you need to be
totally
doing.
What's the word? A facade. I always felt like a fraud. Because the way I felt and what I was doing myself wasn't really what I was trying to teach others, but I thought that that's what everyone needed to see and hear, and just be this positive example no matter what. But that's not human. Like, a human goes through, the human experience is going through all emotion, going through the ups and the downs, the ebbs and the flows. Like, that's normal.
Yeah.
To not 2 weeks and then get back onto the bandwagon, to forget your stuff, eat unhealthy or whatever. Like, we all go enough. Like, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But I had such a like perfectionist mindset, and I still sometimes do, that it trips me up. So then I'm constantly feeling like I'm failing, you know? And I don't want others to feel that way. So it's now like, how can we change the message so that women don't feel that way? Anyway.
Well, I feel like the most promising approach is really with self-compassion, because it's impossible to be perfectionistic and self-compassionate at the same time. And so it's like the antidote, or like the antivenom or something, is how I imagine it. But it really, there's a lot of really great evidence coming out about the positive benefits of self-compassion for a whole wide range of mental health outcomes, because it can reduce anxiety and reduce perfectionism, reduce depression, and also improve body image. So this one little approach to just treating ourselves with more kindness and speaking to ourselves the way that we would to our children, who we tell that they're beautiful, and we have critical words to ourselves. Like it's at its basic level, that's what it's about. And by taking that approach, it can have so many positive benefits. So I feel like that's really the way forward, in terms of driving that kind of body appreciation and that human approach, really.
I'm writing notes.
Good. Good. Yeah, we've got a range of we're linking to all of the self-compassion resources on our website, because Kristen, the guru of self-compassion, she came up with this approach, and there's free things that you can listen to. I guess it's a meditation, but you could listen to it while you're like hanging out the washing. You don't have to like sit in the right pose or anything. And they're just little self-compassion kind of 10-minute things that you listen to, and it just asks you to reframe the way that you're thinking about certain things. And I just think that would be so helpful for so many people.
Yeah, because you do have quite different resources available on your website, don't you? Which is, it's bodyconfidentmums.com.au, isn't it? Right?
Just .org.
Yeah. .org, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I'll go and share it with the tribe anyhow.
Yeah. I'll make sure I get the right website.
We're just focusing on evidence-based resources. So we've got things that mostly other people have developed and evaluated to make sure that they're safe and effective. And there's things for your family, things for your mind, and things for your body. Is the kind of framework. But we're hoping to have more coming soon, once we can get some more funding to evaluate some of our own adaptations to some of those resources.
I love it. Sounds amazing. I can't wait to go check it out.
And I can see you've got behind you there the Embrace Your Body book.
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh.
So I recommend for I don't know if it's going to be reversed on the screen, but for young children particularly, there's a whole lot of body positive books now that really make it easy, because you can't just start a conversation with your 4-year-old about body positivity. Like it has to sort of come from somewhere. So there's a few different books, and we've got a list on the website that I do probably need to update, but this is kind of the newest one, and it's really nice and really colourful, and just something that you can pop in the box and bring up the conversation whenever it happens.
Because I've actually got that book myself, and I've been reading it with my kids, but it's kind of come off the back of them coming home and talking about some things that they've been discussing at kindy, which is fantastic. So it sort of starts the conversation, and then I'm able to continue that at home. So I'm actually really quite impressed with how my kids' kindy discusses a lot of these different issues, body positivity, the way we change and grow, and also like body autonomy as well, which is really, really cool, and things that I don't remember ever being
to bring up.
I think is really, really cool. But so was there anything else that you would love to really share with our members today, Zali? Like, what would be the main takeaway that you'd love each and every mum to take from our discussion?
I guess the main thing is just to give people permission to appreciate their body for what it's done in terms of, bringing babies into the world and nourishing them and all of that sort of stuff. But also just, honouring the season that you're in your body and the changes that it's going to take over the next little while, not just the hormonal ones, because there is something in between puberty and menopause, you know, and our body is meant to change during that time. But just giving permission to accept the body because it does have so many health outcomes, because we know that it means great things for your mental health, but also appreciating your body can help you to nourish it better. And it can, you know, the research shows that people who appreciate their bodies then exercise in a more consistent way for longer, and also engage in things like cancer screening that you wouldn't think automatically is associated, but basically people who like their bodies are more likely to look after them. And I think that's not something that's well publicised or understood, so that's the message that we're trying to get out.
Love it.
Yeah. So leading with kindness and compassion, not just for others, but for yourself.
Oh my God, Zali, I've had like goosebumps this whole conversation. It's like how many messages have thrown at me in one conversation.
Yeah, and it's not just another thing, like I'm aware that it's like, oh, okay, now I have to add that to my to-do list. I have to be compassionate to myself as well, you know, so it's something that you can take on over time. It's not something that you can pick off.
And it's like those little meditations, you know, like a little bit helps, and that's why we've done the meditations for different phases as well, just to help mums see that just that little bit of time, even if you're not closing your eyes, can make such a difference to like the mind and, you know, the way you feel about yourself, and just the time for the day and stuff, you know.
I do my meditations while I'm standing there stirring oats, like, you know, I put it on playing while I'm doing something like quite mindless. And yeah, you can find ways to fit it in, but you're right. Just that little bit of looking after our mental health, it filters into so many other parts of our lives. So
totally.
Really great.
Self-compassion, love it.
Anyway, ladies, I'm going to have to go. I've got a bub that's about to lose her mind. She's been pretty good so far.
Oh, good job, Ruby.
Yeah. And thanks so much for joining us today, Zali. And we're going to link.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we're going to link in your website so everybody can come and check out and download all the free resources that you have available. And we'd love to keep in touch with you, and you know, keep up to date with all the things that you're doing, all the research that you're coming out with.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.